Welcome to Reigniting You, where we talk all things career transition for those age 40 plus. I'm Lisa Downs, Seattle based career and retirement transition coach. So happy to be here with you today. And our producer, Eric. Hey, Eric, how's it going today?
Good afternoon, Lisa. I'm doing well. We're out of the snowpocalypse, so.
Out of our snow.
Yeah, that's right.
Now we're in the dirty snow clump melting phase.
Yeah,
But
I guess that's one way to look at it.
better off than a lot of folks out there.
Absolutely.
We've been hit hard, yeah, the last few days. But we've got the sun out and great day here today. We have another great guest on tap for today's show. Gazala Uradnik of GFS Events is here. She's also the winner of the 2020 Women Business Owners Small Business of the Year Award. And she'll be talking with us about the world of event planning and entrepreneurship. And I'll introduce Gazala right after this first break.
I'm Charlie McGee with FranNet. Historically, economic disruptions drive entrepreneurship, and Americans are opening new businesses at the fastest rate in a decade. If your corporate career path has taken a wrong turn and you've always dreamed of being your own boss in a successful business, I can probably help you. Text me at 360-489-2153. I've been involved with franchising for the last 30 years and have been matching clients with the right franchise fit since 2013. There's no fee to you for my services. I'm here to listen and help you find what you need. Text or call 360-489-2153. 360-489-2153 and visit frannet.com to learn more.
Are you feeling challenged or frustrated without a plan for what's next in your career and life? Are you seeing writings on the wall for needing to make a mid to late career change and don't know how or what to do? Coach Lisa Downs of New Aspect Coaching can guide you to what's next, providing a fresh perspective and supporting you to create a clear and compelling vision for your future and a plan to move forward. Call Lisa at 425-216-3015. That's 425-216-3015. New Aspect Coaching, fresh perspectives for your career.
Make it a great day. Keep your dial on Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Reigniting You, the show that focuses on all aspects of making mid to late career transitions. Thank you to our sponsor, FranNet, your franchise experts. I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Gazala Uradnik of GFS Events. Gazala started GFS Events in 2012 because she knew that nonprofits needed help based on her experience serving on nonprofit boards and as a volunteer. GFS Events provides strategic event planning expertise to nonprofits through focused event strategy, logistics, coordination, messaging, and audience and donor development. Over the last 9 years, her team has helped countless nonprofits raise millions of dollars throughout the Pacific Northwest and across the country. GFS Events has received numerous awards for Best Nonprofit Event and Best Public Event through the International Live Events Association. She lives in Sammamish with her husband and 3 children. Hi, Gazala. Welcome to the show. Happy to have you here.
Lisa, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So great to have you. And I always start with wanting to learn about folks' career trajectory and their path. So, what's been your career path that's led you to your current work with GFS Events?
So my career path is definitely not a straight one. I have, or at times, thought, how did I get here? Where am I going? But it's kind of an interesting story. So I have a master's in healthcare administration, and my whole life I wanted to be in the medical field, thinking I wanted to be a doctor. Turned out I really enjoyed the business side of healthcare. So I worked for many years in hospital administration and a lot of strategy, a lot of business development, really enjoyed what I did. And then I took a little bit of time off to raise my kids. And during that time, I started doing some direct sales and enjoyed that. The aspect I enjoyed about that was the relationship building, being my own boss, having a team. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, but I wasn't necessarily totally enamored with what I was selling. So when it kind of came time to make that next leap, in terms of, what's next, I assumed I was going to go back to healthcare. It's what I, was had been schooled in. It's what I knew best, and realized that what I also enjoyed was nonprofit work. And during that time that I was home with my kids, I was also that perpetual volunteer that raised my hand every time someone said, "Who wants to do this auction? Who wants to help us with this event?" And I served on numerous nonprofit boards. So it was kind of an easy switch in my mind in terms of let me get into this nonprofit world. And I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So that's kind of how my path went in that direction. And I started GFS events, as you mentioned, in 2012.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like you're a great um, case study in not necessarily being in a role currently that you had set out to do, and yet finding that that's okay. And it sounds like probably even better than what you were doing before.
Yeah, most definitely. I think there were times when I was like, gosh, have I wasted my time doing this? Or
Mm.
why did I get a degree if I'm not going to be using it? But honestly, all of those steps led me to where I am today. And I am super happy with those decisions. So I'm glad that that path, even though it was winding, got me to where I am today.
That's all right. I think most of us have found the windy road is the one that's worked out the best for us and is a great one to go down when we can. And I'm also curious about a lesson or two that you've learned along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned is just don't be afraid to ask for help. There are so many things that as an entrepreneur you need to do for your business, but you don't have to be the one to do them. So, getting a team behind you that can do the things you don't enjoy doing, or would take them a quarter of the time it would take you to do. So I think that's really important. And then kind of going off of that, to make money, you definitely have to spend money. And so I think that it's important to realize where you want to put certain dollars. And even it's been 9 years, but I had never even set aside a marketing budget before. And I'm learning like, oh, I should have an actual marketing budget to think about how I want to market. So I think just, really treating your business like a business, even if you're just starting out, and getting the right people on your team to help you along.
Great. And thanks for making the point too about, not going it alone. And to me, it's whether you work internally, inside an organization or externally, really important that you don't feel like you have to do everything yourself. I know that took me a long time in my career too to learn that lesson. And maybe some control issues there, but the
Exactly. I
same.
think a lot of entrepreneurs have that.
Yeah. But always good, to have folks who you can count on and rely on to, yeah, do those tasks and the work that aren't exactly your strengths and that can be complementary and help grow and develop them as well. And I'm also wondering what was particularly helpful for you that's gotten you through times of change in your career. So, whether along the way that was specific actions you took, decisions that you made, people who supported you.
Yeah, I have a huge cheerleading section, which includes my husband, my sister, my kids. It's been wonderful for me to have them just kind of see the progress along the way and help me with, some minor as well as some major decisions. And I think one of the biggest, I will say, I won't say stumbling blocks, but one of the things that was huge for me is that I actually started the company in a completely different direction. So we were called GFS Fund Development. And my
Mm.
thought was in starting that I would be working with smaller organizations, boards, helping them with nonprofit consulting. And I realized pretty quickly that nonprofits needed their most help and their most support around events. And so after 3 years, I made the decision to change the name to GFS
Mm.
events because it really definitely tells you what we do. We do events. So that was a hard one for me because I thought, well, gosh, is that going to affect, who I've been, or is it going to, be recognizable again in the community now that we're changing our name? But it was a great decision. It was a tough one, but I think it's okay as an entrepreneur to think you're in one direction, realize that you have to make this change, and it,
Yeah.
it more aligns with what you actually do. So I think that's okay to do that.
Cool. And by way of follow up from that, what do you find in terms of working with nonprofits that you most enjoy about those types of clients and those types of environments?
Well, one of the things, I'm a huge goal and objective achiever. I like to have a goal. I like to see us get to a goal. And so that's probably my favorite part with working with nonprofits, is that we are raising money, helping them to raise money for their specific mission, and we set a goal. And
Mm.
of course, we're always trying to surpass that goal. And I enjoy, and this is why our niche is nonprofits and not corporate, is I really like the feeling I get working with the people I work with, because they're passionate about whatever it is, whether it's raising money for homeless, raising money for a food bank, or even just raising money for the arts. I think that their mission and their passion kind of transfers over. We get really excited about working with various clients to help them.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's an excellent lesson too, is that making sure if you can that regardless of where you're working or the type of work that you're doing, that it really does align well with, what you identify with in terms of the organization's mission and what you can support from that aspect too is pretty important, I think, to overall career satisfaction as well. So
Agreed.
yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Gazala, for sharing your career story and your lessons. And it's time already for our next break. So when we come back, Gazala and I will talk more about her niche working with nonprofits and about entrepreneurship. Hi, I'm Lisa Downs, career and retirement transition coach and host of Reigniting You on KKNW. I guide age 40 plus professionals to gain clarity, a renewed sense of purpose, and a career transition plan within 90 days so you can lead a fulfilling life regardless of your age. No longer does change have to mean riding off into the proverbial sunset. Let's talk about what your next phase of life can look like. Visit yournewaspect.com or call me at 425 216 3015. That's 425 216 3015. New Aspect Coaching. Fresh perspectives for your career.
This is Rob Bass, and I want you to tune in to Don't Ask Me to Talk with Stacey Heller, the show that brings joy from pain, sunshine where it rains. Don't Ask Me to Talk with Stacey Heller. And that's coming from me, Mr. It Takes Two, Rob Bass. Tune in.
Do what Rob Bass says. Take a listen to Don't Ask Me to Talk with Stacey Heller. That's me, Tuesdays from 3 to 4 on KKNW. To find out more information, check out my website, staceyconnects.com, or text DAMTT to 55678.
What's your story? Have you ever sat with that question and looked to your heart for the answer? It's time to explore the real you. Tune in Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the brand new show, Story You, with Coach Debbie. Debbie and her guests have a mission to inspire and coach you to find your voice. If you need direction, Story You with Coach Debbie is for you. If you want to be an author, Story You with Coach Debbie is for you. Tune in Thursdays at 4 p.m. and be inspired. Have a career transition related question or want to share your best or worst job story? Call 360-436-6496. That's 360-436-6496. Just leave a voicemail and we'll answer your question or share your story on a future show. Stay tuned for more Reigniting You with Lisa Downs.
Organic, free range, and fresh daily. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Reigniting You, the show that discusses timely issues and topics about career transitions for Gen Xers and Boomers. I'm your host, Lisa Downs. We're here with Gazala Uradnik of GFS Events. Gazala, let's go ahead and jump back into our conversation. What do you recommend as a first step when someone is considering starting their own business, and how do you think they can go about taking this step?
I will start with I promise that you did not pay me to say this. I think that the best step is to hire a business coach. I really do believe in that. It You just don't know what you don't know, and there are
Mhm.
so many things to consider. Even if you have been in the corporate world for many years, there's just a whole different aspect to running your own business. And I think that it's super important to have someone to guide you. I think I mentioned that before. Don't be afraid to get people behind you who can help you. And I did do that. I hired a business coach. We worked together for 6 months, and to be honest, I wasn't ready to launch. And she was like, "We are pushing you out of the nest now. You are ready." And so to have that, knowledge of like, all right, I can do this, is super helpful, and it just helped guide me and kind of establish what my next steps were, even as I, finished up with her.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, as you said, there's just so much that you don't know, when you start getting into it, or everything from insurance to payroll taxes to,
Exactly.
the marketing, the sales and marketing piece and the technology. And yeah, there's just so much to it. And what would you say some key characteristics or strengths are that you think are beneficial for people to have as an entrepreneur?
I think what's really key is building genuine relationships. I think that holds true for whatever it is you are doing, even if people, and that's especially true in the nonprofit world. Building genuine relationships is key to success. And so that is something that I was given counsel to do. And someone told me right when I was beginning, you need to have 2 to 3 new connections a week. And so that was something I took to heart and, started that process. Made an effort to talk to people and not ask them for anything other than just um, their backgrounds, where how they got where they're coming, and if they were on a nonprofit board, talking to them about the nonprofit itself. So I wasn't actually asking for anything. And I remember one of my conversations was with a neighbor who ran a nonprofit, and I was just basically wanting to sit down and have coffee with her and talk to her about her nonprofit. And by the end of that, it ended up being a 2-hour conversation. She became my first client in my second month of business, so that was pretty exciting. So I think building those relationships and the motto of you give what you get, or
Mhm.
you get what you give. Sorry. And so just being genuinely interested in people and just getting to know them better, I think, is a way to kind of start your business off.
Right. And to follow up on that, you mentioned the making 2 to 3 connections every week, and I know you and I have been involved with our local women business owners group here in the Seattle area. What else have you done to do that relationship building?
I belong to a group called Business Network International (BNI), and so that is, if you are starting off, I highly recommend at least visiting a chapter in your region. It's actually an international organization, and I think again, it's that building of relationships, because people will do business with people that they like, know, and trust, and so that's kind of one of those mottos I live by too, is helping people to get what they need. So it just all comes back to you. And then I also have joined more kind of industry specific groups as well, to network, to get to meet people, and also just to even have some kind of vendors and colleagues that I can help, and I can also use for events as well.
Excellent. And as you've mentioned, you have a very specific niche in working with nonprofits. How did you land on that niche? I mean, you talked a bit with your career path about you landing in it from your healthcare background, and but what was it specifically that made you say, "Yep, this is really the group that I want to target"? And how do you think people can find a niche that's a good match for them and the type of work they want to do?
So this is kind of an interesting story. I mentioned that I was that perpetual volunteer
Hmm.
and worked on boards and things. And this is a very specific story. So I remember sitting in my co-chair's dining room. It was midnight. We were planning a huge auction, had never been done before. We had like 600 people coming,
Oh,
and
wow.
and it's midnight. And she kind of turns to me and she's like, this is a lot of hard work. Do people get paid to do this? And I was like, I don't know. And then that was kind of the light bulb that went off for me. And I was like, do people get paid to do this? Because I love doing this. I'm doing this for free. And so I guess it goes back to, and that's basically how it started. I started to research and think about what I wanted to do and have my own business. But I think it's so important as an entrepreneur to love what you do, to enjoy it, to truly enjoy it. And I think that is going to keep you going strong when because you're the boss. And
Yeah.
so you need that spark of like, I love doing this. And not everyone can have that happen, but I think when you can, it just ends up being way more fulfilling,
Yeah.
since this is your company. And it ends up being your baby. So so loving what you do, I think, is super important.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true, I believe, and because it really drives everything else. And if you're not feeling like it's a good match, I mean, and you had mentioned earlier too that you shifted things with your business. You changed the name and realized that you wanted to change up what you were doing with your offerings as well. And I think that's the beauty of it too, is that you can change, right? It doesn't have to be set in stone either. You could start off going, down one road in terms of what your business focuses on, and then make that adjustment and adapt. And that kind of leads me to, of course, last year was one for the record books in many ways, year of all years. And I know that you've adapted your business to plan and execute virtual events here in the time of the pandemic. And I'm curious about what helped you be successful in making this pivot, this change, and what advice do you have for how we can all stay flexible and adapt to changing circumstances in our lives?
Well, definitely last March 2020, when everything kind of happened, we have a motto in our family that my husband kind of has started to say, don't panic. When something happens, like, don't panic. That's definitely an event planner's motto as well. And really, it started off on March 2nd. We found out from two of our clients where we had events that week, that they wanted to cancel or move their events
Oh,
to
wow.
another month. I was actually in Disney World of all places, and where there were thousands of people, and when all of this stuff was happening in Seattle, and I was like, "Really? We're going to postpone the events in 3 days? Like, can't we just make it happen?" Of course, now in hindsight, it's like, no, we couldn't have made it happen, it's a good thing we didn't make it happen.
Yeah.
But I guess what really prompted, we had 9 events that month, and I was nervous. I was worried for our clients, and I was also worried for my team. I was getting to a point where I'm like, do I need to lay team members off? I had this kind of a panic moment for a couple of days, and then I was like, nope, we're not laying people off. We're going to get our clients to the results they need, and we're going to figure it out. So we ended up taking several events, many events, virtual that March, and then moved a few to later in the spring, thinking they might be in person, and then eventually realized pretty quickly that 2020 was going to be a virtual year. So
Yeah.
it was a little bit of that quick panic mode, and then I was just like, we're gonna help our clients. I don't want to let them down. So and surprisingly, most of the events we did in 2020 either met their goal or surpassed it, which was super exciting,
That's
and
great.
definitely beneficial for our clients.
Yeah. Wow. Congratulations on doing that and
Thank
um
you.
and making that quick shift and getting your clients on board. And how did you find it in terms of with your clients and their ability and um or just, kind of their mindset around switching everything to virtual? Did they do okay with that?
Some of them did. Some of them came kicking and screaming. We can't do a virtual event. We don't know what that means. No one's going to give. Donors won't be interested. and we share with them that it can happen. We can make them interested, and your donors are still donating to you because they believe in you. So one of the things too, you asked kind of like, what did we do to adapt? We changed a lot what we do for clients. So and that's the thing I think that I've been saying too all these months is like, I didn't go into event planning to be a TV producer, and that's kind of what it feels like. We're producing many TV shows, many movies. We're doing a lot of marketing supports, things that we didn't necessarily have in our tricks and tools bag before, but kind of learning along the way, just because we know the basics and the principles around what attracts donors, what do donors and audiences want and need. So we kind of adapted it and molded it to the virtual world.
Great. And Gazala, how can people find you if they want to get in touch?
Well, we have an awesome website, and that is gfsevents.org. And then we have all of our social media channels. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, and we are on Instagram, also all under GFS Events.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for being here, Gazala, and sharing your insights and recommendations and lessons for our listeners. I really appreciate having you on the show.
Well, thanks, Lisa. It was a pleasure.
Same here. Thanks so much. And it's time to wrap up today's show. And that means it's also time for my Reignition recommendation, your weekly career transition tip. And that is to identify your gives and gets. So, that is, what are three things you'd like to give as part of your next opportunity in your career, and three things you'd like to get from it? Being clear on these can help you focus on only those opportunities that are truly the best fit. Well, thanks, Eric, for your support today, as always. What did you find interesting from our time with Gazala today?
Always amazing to hear about how people have adapted to,
Yeah.
the change that this pandemic has thrown at us. And it's always interesting, the new ways people are doing it. So I think that's very cool.
Very cool. Very inspirational story, too,
Yes.
and being able to do that. So, really commend Gazala and all those out there who are making these adaptations and staying flexible. So thanks so much for listening, everybody. Join us next Wednesday at 3 o'clock when it's time once again for our monthly Best Job, Worst Job, First Job episode, when I'll share listener stories and career news. As a reminder, you can share your story by email at reignitingyou@gmail.com or leave a voicemail at 360-436-6496 to share it over audio. Also, I have a special running these days, so if you'd like a 2-hour career transition strategy session with me, you can hop on my website, yournewaspect.com, and take advantage of a time limited offer until April 1st for a $200 discount. Well, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week on Reigniting You.
Claire.
All right. Thanks, Gazala.